podcasthero.com.
Welcome to the Daily Quote, the podcast designed to kickstart your day in a positive way. I'm your host, Andrew McGivern, and this episode is brought to you by the Great News Podcast, because we could all use some great news. Link is in the show notes. Today we have two quotes separated by a century from two men who could not have occupied more different positions in the world. Yet they arrived at exactly the same profound truth. Our main quote of the day comes from Epictetus, born a slave in ancient Rome, who studied philosophy in chains, earned his freedom, and went on to found one of the most respected schools of Stoic thought in history. He once said, "We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgments about them." And then, a century later, the Emperor Marcus Aurelius, ruler of the most powerful empire on earth, who acknowledged Epictetus as the central influence in his own thinking, wrote in his Meditations, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." A slave and an emperor. The same truth. Think about what that convergence means. One man had nothing, no freedom, no possessions, no power over his own circumstances. The other had everything, armies, an empire, and absolute authority. And both arrived independently at the same conclusion. The source of suffering is not what happens to us. It is what we tell ourselves about what happens to us. Coming from these two men, it's a hard-won philosophical truth tested at both extremes of human experience. Here's what they're pointing at. Two people can face the identical event. A job loss, a failed relationship, a plan that falls apart. And they can have completely different experiences of it. Not because the event was different, but because their judgment of the event was different. One calls it a catastrophe, the other calls it a redirection. Same event, entirely different suffering. For Epictetus, this was the cornerstone of all Stoic philosophy, that while external events are determined by circumstances beyond our control, we always retain the power to choose how we respond to them. Good and evil live not in what happens, but in how we judge what happens. And Marcus Aurelius adds the most liberating word of all: revoke. You have the power to revoke your judgment at any moment. The suffering isn't locked in. The story you're telling yourself about the event, you can change that story right now, in this moment. What Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius are offering isn't toxic positivity. It's not pretending the bad thing didn't happen. It's something far more powerful. The recognition that the meaning of what happens is never fixed. It belongs to you, and you can change it. So here's the question. What are you currently suffering from that might be more about your judgment of the event than the event itself? Because if a man who ruled an empire and a man born in chains both agree that the suffering is not locked in, the judgment is yours. And you have the power to revoke it at any moment. That's it for today. I'm Andrew McGivern, signing off for now. But I'll be back tomorrow. Same pod time, same pod station, with another Daily Quote.